Good morning. I hope this video finds you well. If you're new here, my name is Therese and I post a lot of gardening content. However, winter is on the way, so I'm experimenting with some baking videos, cleaning videos, DIY videos, and we also have some backyard chickens that I'm going to do an update on coming up. Today I'm going to show you my bread recipe for regular white sandwich bread, massive loaves, very squishy, gorgeous bread. And I just want to make sure that you know that this recipe makes 3 loaves. And let's see. Oh, and while we let that bread rise, I'm going to show you what's going on in the garden. So here we go.
Okay, we're going to start with 3/4 cups of warm water and then 4.5 teaspoons of instant dry yeast. And I'm not going to measure that half teaspoon. I'm just going to eyeball it. Once that's in there, I'm just going to stir that with the measuring spoon and let that get all bubbly and happy. And then the next thing I'm going to do is wipe out that measuring cup I just used. And then I'm going to put all of the lesser ingredients of the recipe in that measuring cup so the yeast can do its thing. That would be 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt. Our salt right now is in a pepper shaker. I can see that if you have noticed that. I don't know why, but there it is. So 1 tablespoon of salt, and then it says 3 tablespoons of room temperature butter, and my butter dish needs to be cleaned out anyway, so I'm just going to take all that's in there. It looks like roughly 3 tablespoons, and if it's a little over, I have no problem with that. And we're just going to add that to the sugar and salt that's in that measuring dish. And while I'm doing that, that yeast is getting nice and happy in that warm water. Then the next thing that I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to grab a small spatula. Just a minute. And then I'm going to scrape down the sides of the bowl. When you mix yeast with warm water, sometimes the yeast likes to stick to the sides of the bowl. So I'm just going to scrape that down. And then while we wait some more for that yeast to get nice and bubbly, I'm going to show you the lilies that I got from Haley over at Monarch Memories. Here they are. And I just want to say thank you to her for those because they smell really, really, really good. And they made such a nice backdrop for this video, I think. And then I'm going to pull out my grandmother's loaf pans. And then the next thing I'm going to do is show you my bread box. So I spent a long time trying to find a canister where I could reach in with a full cup, measuring cup, and comfortably pull out a cup of flour, and I couldn't find one. But so if that bothers you like it bothered me, you can buy one of these bread boxes from Amazon, and it just makes way less of a mess, and it's way easier to scoop flour out. So I'm going to show you that, and then this is what the yeast looks like. You can see all the bubbles coming up in there, so that's all set. And then the next thing we're going to do is add some more warm water, 2 2/3 cup warm water. And then once that water is in there, we can add our sugar, butter, and salt. And then once the sugar, butter, and salt is in there, we can add 5 cups of flour. The whole recipe calls for 9 cups of flour total. So we're going to start with 5, and like I said, this recipe makes 3 loaves, which is as much as this KitchenAid can handle. And this is just a standard sized KitchenAid. So 5 cups, and then I'm going to look around for the dough hook first. No, look around, looking. Oh, there it is. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the dough hook in, but before I turn the machine on, I'm going to stir that up a little bit with that little spatula just to prevent like a big cloud of flour from coming out and making a mess as soon as I turn that machine on. Another thing I forgot to do before I started making this video was to plug the machine in. So I need to scooch everything over about 2 inches so I can reach the outlet and then plug the machine on and plug the machine in. And then I did continue to use that little spatula, but in a minute I am going to switch. So there's that. So that's 5 cups of flour, sugar, salt, butter, yeast, water so far. And this is actually on a low speed. I sped up this video to 1.5 times, so it's actually going slower than it looks like it's going. So keep that in mind, or else you're going to get quite the mess. So this is me trying to use that tiny spatula to scrape all of the dough off the bottom and kind of mix it up in there. And I'm going to switch to this spatula that my sister-in-law gave me. Thank you very much, Auntie Jenny. I love that spatula. That spatula is pretty rugged, not messing around. So I'm just going to stir that up and scrape the bottom of the bowl and then let it keep going. Oh, no, I'm going to put the 6 cup of flour and then I'm going to let it keep going. There it goes. Yeah, I love that bread box as a canister. It just works so much better. Just works so much better. I'm not sure if I said this in the beginning, but after we are done making this dough, I'm gonna let it rise for about an hour and 5 minutes. While we're letting it rise, I'll go out to the garden and show you what's happening out there. I have some bee balm where the heavy rains that we got recently kind of squashed it to the ground, and I'm going to tie that up with some old clothesline. And then I want to show you our great mullein, which is something that I found in the garden that I let grow, and sometime I'd like to measure it to see how tall it is, but it's extremely tall. Okay, so here is the benefit of having a KitchenAid mixer with a dough hook in this case. Like if you were making this the old-fashioned way, you would be kneading this by hand, and it takes a lot of upper body strength that I just don't have. So this is it at this point. It's kneading the dough most of the way for me. And I'm just going to let that keep going until it's picking up all of the dough from the sides and the bottom of the bowl. And the other thing I want to mention is you can see how it's putting some pressure on the KitchenAid. You want to make sure the top of the KitchenAid is in the locked position. Otherwise, that would make a mess and not be good. And I've done that before. The next thing I'm going to do is take my Pioneer Woman Dutch oven, and that's what I'm going to let this dough rise in. And I can't remember if I've already oiled it. I might not have. I might do that now. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So that's like a Dutch oven, and then I'm going to put some, this is just generic canola oil because it's the cheapest thing to get right now. So I'm just going to put some oil in there, rub it around, and then I'm going to move the camera a little bit so you can see how much dough is in here and what it looks like while I'm pulling it away from the dough hook. And it actually pulls away kind of easily. If you have mixed it enough, it will come off pretty easily. I just want to make sure I don't leave any behind. And I'm just going to keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. And there goes my dough hook into the sink. And then I'm going to unscrew the bowl of the machine. And then I'm going to put a little bit of flour on the counter, and then I'm going to knead it myself for a minute. And the way to knead, or the way I was taught in school anyway, is to use the heel of your hand right there, and then use your other hand to push on the heel of your hand, which kind of doubles the amount of force you have. And you're gonna turn, fold, press, and turn, fold, press, and keep doing that until it forms a nice smooth ball of dough. And you can see the ball getting tighter. It's kind of losing its elasticity there. Then what I'm going to do is pinch it, and the part that's pinched, I'm just going to call it the seam. I don't know what other people call it, but that's going to go on the bottom. But I'm going to put it top side down into the oil, which I'm going to add a little bit extra. So I'm going to do top side down, seam side up, spin it around to get the top nice and oily, and then flip it over so that the bottom is covered in oil. And then I'm going to take this rag and get it wet and wring it out, and then put it over the top, and then we're going to let that rise for about an hour. I think it ends up actually being like an hour and 5 or 10 minutes. Then we'll go out to the garden. So this is the bee balm that I tied up. You can see the clothesline right there. I just wanted the heads to stay nice and upright for the pollinators, and so they can dry properly, and then I can try to get some seeds out of those. This is the zinnia and cosmos bed. I have a lot of lime zinnias that look really good right now, and then the apricota cosmos complement that. There's the echinacea, and then here is our great mullein plant. I love these plants. They have super, super soft leaves. This one is making seeds right now, so I'm going to try to save some seeds from this plant and put them for sale on my Etsy site. Great mullein is a medicinal plant. It has a lot of uses. And then here's pepper that's looking pretty good. And then over here in front of that bee balm that was all smushed down, I found a ton of tomatoes. These are all volunteer tomatoes, so I did not plant these this year. They kind of planted themselves from the plants that were here last year, and there's just a crazy amount. They're still green. I'm sure there are people that are harvesting tomatoes from their gardens around here already, but nothing I have is quite ready yet. There's a little bee inside of an apricota cosmo. There is this awesome wasp. These wasps are so cool looking. They're like blue. They look like spilled oil. So I just wanted to see if I could get one. And they don't sit still for very long, but I just like their color. And there's a zucchini. And then the next thing is this awesome weird caterpillar that Chase found. in the tree. He likes to climb trees, and he took this photo of it. He saw me recording it, and he was like, I want to take a photo of it in the sunshine on the moss. And then he did it, and it came out way better than anything I took. So there it is. And then we found out that this is a definite tussock moth. Oh, and then we're back. Okay, so here's our thing, an hour and 5 minutes or something like that later. You can see how big it got, and then I'm going to put some flour on the counter and then dump out the dough. And then I'm going to just kind of punch the air out of it a little bit. And then I'm going to try to shape it into a square so that I can eyeball the 3 equally sized pieces for each of the 3 loaves. And you can use a bench knife. I'm just going to use a regular chef's knife. I have a bench knife somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So I'm just going to use a regular chef's knife. And this countertop is about 50 to 60 years old. I'm pretty sure it's made out of plastic, so I'm not terribly worried about it. It has some damage already, so I'm not worried about scuffing up my countertop. And then I kind of stretch them out a little bit, and then I kind of roll them. I might fold them and then roll them, and then I'm going to knead them again the same way I did the large ball. I'm going to do these, but then once I get towards the end, I'm going to pinch it and try to make a more cylindrical shape out of it. And I'm going to do that for each one. So I'll probably try to find some music for right here, for the spots where I'm just working and doing the same thing for a while. So that's what all 3 of those look like before they're going to go into the greased loaf pans. Same thing, top side down first, get that coated, and then flip it. That one I accidentally, if you noticed it, it's actually bottom side up, so I'm going to have to fix that after the second rise. I do fix it later though. Then we're going to take that same damp rag and put it over those, loosen it up a little bit so they have room to grow. And I gave it a whole nother hour. And then here's the final product. So after that hour, it was risen as much as I wanted it to rise. And then I baked it at 400 degrees for about 20-25 minutes until I tapped on the top of it and it sounded hollow. Tap on the top of it with your fingernail or a knife or a fork or something. And then you can see how beautiful and squishy it is. That's Chase behind me. He thinks that's cream cheese. It is not cream cheese, but he is ready for some bread. And that's it.